We're moving to item number 23, an application for certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan for docket number 158308, block 859, lot 26, for 30 East 30th Street, AKA 27 through 31 East 29th Street, the Martha Washington Hotel and Individual Landmark, a Renaissance Revival style hotel designed by Robert W. Gibson and built in 1901 through 1903. Application is to install signage.
All right.
Yes.
Good morning. Catherine Red, Conservation Department staff. I'm here to introduce the project for signage at the Martha Washington Hotel, for the hotel building, and for a restaurant, Martha, within the hotel. And actually, Ward Dennis from Higgins Grace Park is here to talk more about it, among other people.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ward Dennis with Higgins Grace Park. As Catherine said, the application is for signage on the Martha Washington Hotel, an individual landmark. We're looking at the 29th Street facade and one of the side elevations. As you can see from the historic photos in your package, the hotel from the very early days has always had some form of signage on it, including a marquee at the base and a painted sign on the east elevation of 29th Street. In later years, the signage over the main entry on 29th Street changed to an illuminated sign, and finally by the 1940s, you had this very tall neon sign on 29th Street and then smaller signage on 30th. The painted sign on the side elevation changed from the smaller piece to the very larger piece, the ghost of which is still visible today. A big part of this application is actually about returning the building to the Martha Washington name. Since it ceased to operate as a hotel for women, the Martha Washington has had a series of different names and has even had its main entry turned around to 30th Street. Last year, we were before you to modify the openings along 29th Street, which you see in this rendering, and you did approve that. Part of that application and part of this application is bringing everything back to 29th Street and making this once again the Martha Washington Hotel. The proposal is for an illuminated sign underneath the balcony here on 29th Street and for a pin-mounted sign above the new hotel entrance, as well as small plaque signs and a painted sign, which I'll show you in a minute. The pin-mounted and illuminated signs will be a brass and will be unfinished. There's a sample here, and this is a mock-up of one of the illuminated letters, full size. As you can see, it's a solid letter with LEDs projecting off the back to create a halo off of this piece here. And this actually plugs in, and I'll let Miguel take a look at that. I'm going to just trip over it, I'm sure. Miguel, I'll keep going. There are also existing flag poles, which we will have banners on. That's not part of this application, but we're showing it so you can see the whole signage package. The font for the lettering of both of the signs is based off of letterhead and hotel hangers and old branding for the hotel. Again, taking this back to the Martha Washington. The hotel was originally exclusively for women. The branding is now exclusively for everyone. This is just the existing condition, pre-work. Right now, everything here is scaffolded because we're doing work at the base. This is what was approved last year, and this, very hard to read, is what is proposed. You can read that better in detail here. Again, the previous approval and the new proposal with the illuminated sign hung underneath the balcony and pin-mounted letters here and small plaque signs here. In our previous approval, we did have plaque signs as well. This is a section through the sign showing its mounting on the underside of the balcony and details of how the sign is constructed. Again, you can see here with the clear acrylic on the backside so that the light projects to the rear. And then finally, this is the pin-mounted signage, non-illuminated, over the hotel entry at the east portico. And the detail of the plaque, which will also be bronze and allowed to weather. And then finally, the painted sign on the upper east projection of the east side elevation of the hotel, painting over the faded existing sign that has been there over time.
Is that sign, the painted sign, is that legal?
According to the code consultants who we're working with, it is. I know
With Buildings
going back and
Department?
forth with Landmarks Council.
Okay.
And we'll get the finding from DOB, but our code consultants tell us that the existing sign is there and therefore.
Okay, and that's the existing sign, which is,
Yeah,
you can barely see?
the faded
Okay.
existing sign.
Okay.
So I assume it will hinge on that and
okay,
we will find out from DOB.
all right. Any questions? Okay. Yes,
So, could you just summarize your sign? So you have that on this side, that side, that's the back, right? And you have a new sign on the front, and
We have the painted sign on the side elevation.
Right.
We have a illuminated sign underneath the balcony, and we have a pin-mounted sign over the hotel entry. There are two small plaques at the base of the building, which were seen previously by the commission, I believe. And then the banners that are existing flagpoles.
yes,
No, no, only this sign here is illuminated.
Commissioner Chapin?
Yeah, I just wondered, it's the context, the flags, is this something that you could represent as typical of the district, or, in other words, the flags, the banners specifically?
Well, the flagpoles are existing on the hotel. This is an individual landmark.
Right.
I certainly think that banner flags on hotels are very common. If you look at the Plaza or the St. Regis and other hotels, I think you'll find that.
Any other questions? All right, we'll take public testimony. Kelly Carroll?
Kelly Carroll, Historic Districts Council. HDC applauds the use of the Martha Washington Hotel's historic logo and the reemergence of the painted wall sign. While our committee generally appreciates the approach to the signage program, the banner signs seem a little excessive. Thank you.
All right,
So, Commissioner, just so it's clear, the flag poles are grandfathered, so they're technically not before us. You can still take it into account if you look at overall signage, but they're not before us.
okay. Community Board recommends approval of this project, which includes to install 2 new banners and 5 signs on 29th Street and the eastern facade. All right, we can close the hearing.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Questions and comments? I think the signs look very nice. Are there any, very nice detail. Are there any concerns?
I just think they got to use that cherry detail more. I like that.
I was going to say, I think
I just thought it was a nice little graphic illusion.
Okay, so why don't we read the resolution? Commissioner Chapin, you want to do that?
Okay, thank you. In the matter of a certificate of appropriateness, Borough of Manhattan, 30 East 30th Street, AKA 2731 East 29th Street, Martha Washington Hotel, individual landmark. The application is to install signage. I recommend approval, finding that electrified signs were present at the base of the building soon after its completion, as documented in historic photographs, that the scale of the proposed halo-lit bronze-lettered hotel sign will be proportional to the facade and its centered location at the center projecting base at the base of the facade and below the third-floor balcony will relate well to the surrounding architectural features, that the halo-type illumination of the second-story hotel sign will consist of a shielded source of light and will therefore not call undue attention to the sign, and that the sign will be suspended from and anchored to the plain soffit of the third-floor masonry balcony and will not cause damage to underlying significant decorative masonry. That the proposed bronze-lettered building entry sign will be installed at an area of plain masonry within the fascia of the restored pediment and will be proportional to the scale of this fascia. That the small-scale, simple design and symmetrical placement of the proposed plaque-type signs at the lobby entrance and at the restaurant will cause them to be visually unobtrusive at the facade. That the natural bronze material of these signs will harmonize visually with the palette of the masonry and metal materials of the facade. That the location, dimensions, painted application, lettered style design, and solid colored border of the proposed painted wall sign at the east secondary facade will be consistent with those features of a historic painted wall sign at this facade as documented in historic photographs evidenced at the building, and will be in keeping with signs found traditionally on secondary facades at commercial buildings of this style and age. That the placement of the proposed painted sign on this plain brick secondary facade will not obscure significant architectural features of the building. That the limited palette of the proposed painted sign, consisting of a tan ground with black, red, and white lettering and trim, closely approximates that of the historic painted wall sign, is typical of historic painted wall signs, and will not call undue attention to this sign and away from the significant features of the adjacent primary facade. And the overall effect of the installation of all of the proposed signage will not be excessive and will not detract significantly from the architectural features of the building, which is an individual landmark.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this resolution has been passed.